In this video, I'm going to share with you a new learning environment that I've set up for folks who want to master the skill of sketchnoting and apply that skill to work that they care about. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual. My name is Doug Neill and I have been teaching sketchnoting online for about 5 years now. And ever since I entered the world of online education, coming from the world of traditional high school education, I've been on the lookout for the right type of space online to connect with folks around the topic that I am most interested in, the topic that I teach here, visual note-taking, to share the lessons that I've learned, the courses that I've developed, and also to connect with the folks who are doing interesting things themselves with the skills that I teach. And I've experimented with a lot of different online learning environments over the years, none of which have felt like a great fit for the type of learning environment that I've wanted to create. But I've recently found a place that I'm very excited about, and the place that I am now moving all of my instructional materials into to create a better learning experience for you. And before I tell you more about that new place and the new things going on there, let me first tell you about where we've been. Here is the full set of online courses that I've created to date. The first is called An Introduction to Visual Note-Taking. That's a great place to start if you're just getting into sketchnoting. After that, I created a course all about how to make this style of hand-sketched videos. That course is called How to Make Sketchnote Videos. Then I created a resource kit for teachers who want to share the skill of sketchnoting with their students and start to weave it more into their classroom. That resource is called Sketchnoting in the Classroom. And then, based on my experience when I first got into the world of visual thinking by starting a blog about it, I created a course called Learn in Public, which helps you develop your own strategy for sharing your skill development online to create new personal and professional opportunities for yourself. Then I decided to merge my interest in language learning with my interest in visual note-taking to create a course called Learn a New Language with Sketchnotes. And then, because of how much I enjoy creating educational experiences and developing curriculum using a whole lot of visual thinking tools, I created a resource called Build an Online Course with Sketchnotes to help others who want to do something similar with these skills. And finally, the latest course, which is currently in development, all about how to use the tablet and stylus tool combination. That course is called Digital Sketchnoting. Now, one of the things that hasn't been all that consistent throughout the development and release of all of those courses is a way for the students who take those courses to connect with each other. And that's one of the things that's solved by this new course and community platform that I'm moving to, which I'll show you in a second. What this platform creates is essentially a group setting connected to the online course so that everyone who signs up for it, no matter when, has the ability to connect with other students. Students who are maybe going through the course at the same time as them, other students who have gone through it but are still keeping tabs on what's going on there and developing their skills around the topic of that course, and the ability to connect with me directly as well. So within that intro course, folks can share their early sketch notes and get feedback on them. Folks learning how to make videos like these can share early drafts, seek out ways to improve their videos. Teachers can share how they're using that resource kit within their classroom, how they're sequencing the video lessons and follow-up activities and other projects that they're doing with their students. And other bloggers and podcasters and video makers can share their plan for learning in public and begin to share things within that safe environment before publishing it out to the entire world. Within the language learning course, you might even have the opportunity to do some language sharing, finding a friend whose native language is the language that you're learning, having some practice conversations back and forth in each language, and sharing the type of sketchnoting that you're doing to build up your vocabulary in that new language. If you're working on a new course, you can share your course roadmap and get feedback on that. And within digital sketchnoting, you can share the tools that you're using, which features you like best, and learn from others based on what they're using. What this new setup allows for, then, is for you to share your progress throughout the days and weeks that you spend working through these course materials. And along the way, way, you can connect with others, with folks who are at a similar point in their journey as you are, sometimes with folks a bit further ahead, others with folks a bit behind, and you can support them. So that's a little bit about how the experience of taking an online course will be different in this new location. And here's a taste of what it looks like. I'm using a platform called Mighty Networks, which I have been very impressed with. I myself recently took a course that used Mighty Networks as its learning environment. More on that course in a little bit. But I was blown away by how easy it was to move around, the way it facilitated interaction between students and also between the host and students, and how easy it is to set up different areas for folks to share their work, have conversations in an organized, retrievable, reviewable way. And what's particularly great about Mighty Networks is they have an app that looks really great, so you can dig into this learning environment no matter what device you're on or where you are. So everything that I just described and showed you there was essentially how I'm transferring what already exists within verbal to visual over to a new space because of these new features. In addition to that transfer to what I hope is an improved learning experience, there are also 3 new things that I'm kicking off as I make that move. The first of those 3 new things isn't actually completely new. It's more of a relaunch of the verbal to visual community. While those courses that I just described are a great place to hop in, learn a specific skill, and take that skill with you, this community is all about folks who want to maintain that connection over time. It's for lifelong learners and makers who want to master the skill of sketchnoting in order to do 3 things. Move from surface level to deep learning, solve complex problems efficiently and effectively, and tell stories in a memorable and impactful way. So if you've come to realize that sketchnoting is a skill that you want to go all in on and develop mastery around, then that's what this community is for. Here's what we'll be up to. Most of the activity that goes on within this community will be organized around monthly themes. For example, the first 3 months, I've got these themes planned. In April, we'll focus on building your visual vocabulary. In May, we'll explore mind maps and flowcharts as a specific sketchnoting process. And in June, we'll focus on handwritten fonts. Each month, then, we'll focus on a particular sketchnoting skill or sketchnoting process, so that you can deepen your skills and experience in that particular area. And to help you gain that experience, we've got a consistent weekly calendar. On Mondays, I will pose a question of the week related to that month's theme. That will get your gears turning and start thinking about some aspect of it. And in the formulation of your own response to that question and seeing the responses of others, you'll solidify some of your thinking around that topic. Then on Wednesdays, I provide a specific sketchnoting prompt, an activity for you to complete and then share within the group. And then on Fridays, I'll post a community roundup, highlighting some of the most engaging conversations, a few of the sketch notes that have been shared, because in addition to these weekly activities focused on that month's theme, you'll also have the opportunity just to share any of your sketch notes to get feedback. There's also a place for Q&A to ask specific questions of the group, so there will be no shortage of ways to share what you're up to and connect with others and learn from what they're up to. Another way in which that connection will occur is through monthly masterminds. These will be live webinars that you'll be able to connect to with your camera so that you can see each other, have real conversations as you share your sketchnoting projects, the specific things that you're working on tied to whatever you're learning, the specific problems that you're solving, or the stories that you're telling. And those live video chats will give you the opportunity to get feedback and work through any specific challenges that you might be facing. And what excites me about this overall setup here is that there's enough structure and enough prompts coming from those monthly themes and weekly calendars that will give you specific things to work on, but there's also plenty of opportunities for you to share your work and ask questions outside of that particular monthly theme or that day's activity. And as I mentioned, April 2020 is the first month that we'll be kicking off that structure. We'll be having those monthly masterminds on the first Thursday of each month. There are a couple of membership options, a monthly plan as well as an annual plan. Details about those down below. But that's only the first of 3 new things, so let me get to the others. The second new thing that I'm excited to get off the ground in this transition period are one-on-one coaching calls. The major theme behind all of these updates that I'm sharing is connection. And here I would love to have a conversation about what you're up to with your sketchnoting skills. Because to me, it's the details of your situation that are interesting. Things like the setting that surrounds your work, the goals that you're working toward, the particular subjects and type of content that you work with, the tools that you use, and the specific questions that you have that I might be able to help with. And how I see my role is as a curious listener, as well as a hopeful helper. And even if it's just getting you to tell me more about this one thing or that thing, or asking if you've tried this approach or that approach, I think that these conversations can be valuable. But I don't want to stop there. With your permission, I'd like to capture our conversation, record that half-an-hour call so that we can take it and turn it into a new podcast. Because I have no doubt that your experiences and your questions will resonate with other sketchnoters. So by recording those coaching calls and publishing them in a podcast, we'll be opening up the doors to let others learn from whatever comes up in our conversation. My plan is to set up a couple of time slots each week to do those half-hour coaching calls, and anyone who has purchased a course or signed up for the Verbal to Visual community will have access to those calls. So that's kind of a perk of joining us in this new learning environment. But it's not the only perk. Let's get to the last new thing that I'd like to share today. While those coaching calls represented an opportunity to connect in an audio-only format, I'm also excited to launch a new video series, a series that I'm calling Sketchnote Breakdown. In contrast to those coaching calls, which will mostly be with folks fairly early on in their sketchnoting journey, this new video series is for more experienced sketchnoters, folks who I will reach out to have a conversation about sketchnoting. But rather than trying to capture their whole life story and get all of their sketchnoting tips in one conversation, I thought it would be fun to highlight one specific sketchnote as the anchor to that conversation, because I think that it's in the specifics of a single experience that someone had that you can learn quite a bit. So we'll talk about the tools that that person used for that particular sketchnote, the process for creating the visual summary they created, the deeper purpose behind sketching those things out in the first place, and the specific impact that it had. Now, here's where this gets fun. The video creation process will have 2 parts to it. The first will be a co-hosted webinar. I will invite on this guest who will share their sketchnote as we're having this conversation, but we'll also invite others to join us live, to watch that conversation as it unfolds, and for you to be able to ask your own questions. Similar to the one-on-one coaching calls, anyone who has picked up a course or who is subscribed to the Verbal to Visual community will get the invite. I imagine that those webinars will run somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour, and then part 2 comes in, where I will go back and cut things down and create a highlight video to share publicly on YouTube. I'll try to pare it down to probably about a 10-minute video. I will provide some new narration throughout the clips that I decide to share, so it will be a pretty highly edited version of the original conversation, but something that I still think will be useful and a great recap to live on YouTube. So I will be excited to share the work of other sketchnoters in those 2 formats. And if you're excited about the idea of participating in those conversations, then do go check out those courses or come join us in the community. And with that, I have covered all of the new things going on here at Verbal to Visual. I hope it gives you a sense for where we're headed in the future. As you can probably tell, I'm very excited about this new online learning environment, and I encourage you to come connect with us there. Coming up in the next video, I'm going to share a little bit about the course that I mentioned that I took within a Mighty Network. It's actually a course put on by the folks that built Mighty Networks, and it's called Community Design. And it was a course that helped me plan out that whole structure that I just shared with you. More on that course and how I sketchnoted it in the next video. In the meantime, do go check out all of those courses that I started this video with, and go check out that new community to see if that's a place where you might like to spend some time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.